Hello and welcome to this webinar I have named The Ultimate Guide to Being Selfish. Now, this recording was originally made in 2018, so you'll have to forgive me because you may have heard some of this content since then, but I thought it's actually a really handy reminder because I've been talking about self-care so much recently. I think the reason I originally created this guide is that the word selfish can be really jarring for people, and yet that's how people feel when you talk to them about self-care, about trying to put themselves first. And the reason I talk about it at all is that in order to do any of the things I try and encourage my clients to do, they need to start putting themselves first. If it is to do a couple of things in the morning that I recommend they do, if it's to try meditation, to try journaling, to even invest in themselves, to take the time to think about what it is that they want and where they want to be in a few years' time, all of those things require them to stop putting everybody else first and to actually start thinking about themselves. So that's where this idea of being selfish comes from, is that when you talk to people about that, whether they actually articulate it as being selfish or whether it's just something they internally feel without even using the word, I feel that I have to get people past that before they will be able to go on to do any of the things I'm talking to them about. So we have to first get past this idea that it's selfish to care about ourselves, to think about ourselves, to think about our futures, to think about what we want. And that's why in this little webinar that is going to come up shortly, you're going to see we talk about things like where your stress levels are right now. Because do you know what? Even to get our stress levels down, we have to care about ourselves, because it involves some saying no to things. It involves some early nights instead of staying up late, catching up on things. It involves sometimes going off and spending a bit of time on our own when perhaps we've been working all week and we feel we ought to be spending time with our families at the weekend, when what we actually need is to take ourselves off for half an hour and get our minds straight. So we'll be talking about stress in the webinar. We'll be talking about you, what's important to you, what roles and responsibilities you have in life right now, and where you want to be, where you want to get to. And then towards the end of the webinar, we're going to be talking about one of my favourite topics, which is happiness. Because do you know what? Maybe we have to be selfish to be able to think about what it is that makes us happy. And I don't think that's selfish in the long run, because I think if we are happier, healthier people, then everyone around us benefits, whether it's our families, our children, whether it's our teams that we work with, whether it's the clients we work with. All of these people get a better us if we look after ourselves. So I hope you enjoy this. What we're going to cover in this guide is looking at stress, the causes of stress, what stress does to us. We're also going to look at success. How do we define success? We're going to look at your future. What does your future look like? We're going to look at what you value in your life, what's important to you. And when we look at your values, we'll discover why you do certain things the way you do, why you make certain decisions. And then we're going to look at happiness, because for me, it's all about happiness. That's all any of us really want. How can you achieve even more happiness? As you read through this guide, what I want you to remember is that a lot of what I talk about is common sense. You've probably heard it before, read it before, maybe even been to trainings or seminars. But to know and not to do is not really to know. And that's from Stephen Covey's book, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. So what I'm saying here is that just because something is common sense and you've heard it before, if you're not doing it every day, if you're not living it, then you don't really know it. And I'd ask you to approach with an open mind. Something else I'd like you to think about in relation to goals. If you have a goal and you write it down,
you are 42% more likely to achieve that goal. If you get accountable, if you're accountable to a friend, your partner, somebody at work, or a coach or a mentor, if you're accountable, then you are 85% more likely to achieve your goals. Some facts and figures for you in relation to stress. The NHS says that psychological problems, including stress, anxiety, and depression, are the reason for 1 in 5 visits to a GP. I wouldn't be surprised if these figures are actually higher. Stress is a huge problem at the moment. It is the cause of over 45% of work absence in a year. And in 2015, in the UK, 17 million working days were lost at a cost to the UK economy of over £2 billion due to stress. Every day, 668 new cases of work-related stress, depression, or anxiety were diagnosed in 2015. That's 1 every 2 minutes. And of course, this is only the recorded cases. There are likely to be far more that go unrecorded. So what does stress do to us? It causes pain of all different sorts, sleeping problems, autoimmune diseases, digestive issues, skin conditions, heart disease, weight problems, whether that's weight gain or too much weight loss, reproductive issues, and thinking and memory problems. Ultimately, stress is killing us. Stress is now thought to be a major contributing factor to the 6 leading causes of death. That's heart disease, cancer, lung illness, accidents, liver disease, and suicide. So what fuels this need for stress? It's clearly causing us significant damage. Some people believe that stress is just part and parcel of the job. People believe that you need stress to be successful, or that you need to be successful in order to be happy. I think these are myths about success. You should never stop striving or accomplishing. You can't be successful without feeling stressed out. And you should persevere at all costs. That's all costs to your health, to your relationships. But what if something else was true? To me, this is one of the best definitions of success I've come across. Success is liking yourself, liking what you do, and liking how you do it. And that's from Maya Angelou. So, I propose that we swap our stress for happiness instead. And I've recently been reading some research that indicates that levels of happiness are now one of the biggest indicating factors to our health than even smoking. So actually, to improve our happiness could improve our nation's health even more than giving up smoking does. But why else am I such an advocate for increasing happiness? You're able to build higher quality relationships with those at work. You boost the happiness and the productivity of not just yourself, but of all of those around you. You will have increased engagement with your work. And if you're in the customer service industry, as most professions are now, you provide a superior customer service. You'll also increase your productivity. There are statistics that being happy increases productivity by 12%. I wouldn't be surprised if it's a lot higher than this. You can improve your career because happy people who frequently experience positive emotions such as joy, satisfaction, contentment, and enthusiasm, are more likely to succeed in their career. People who are happier have higher incomes several years later in life. So who am I and why should you listen to me? Well, I inspire professionals to be happy, to find out who they authentically are, to take back control of their lives, and to discover what for them is happiness, so that they can master their inner game of authentic happiness and create a life that they love. I teach my clients about the difference between inauthentic happiness and authentic happiness. Inauthentic happiness is the sort that we all know about and the sort that we all go after for most of our lives. Inauthentic happiness comes from things like pay rises, promotions, new houses, new relationships, winning the lottery. These inauthentic happiness is temporary and short-lived. And within a matter of days or weeks, the happiness that those things brought has gone. Authentic happiness is different. Authentic happiness comes from inside of us, and it is not affected by our external circumstances. So I encourage my clients and all of those that I teach to find their authentic inner happiness, to master their inner game of authentic happiness, because this is the happiness that lasts and is not temporary and is not affected by what's going on around you. One of the reasons that we're so unhappy is because of something called Superwoman. You've probably all met Superwoman, or you recognize her within yourself, because Superwoman is fantastic, isn't she? She does everything. She meets the goals, she smashes the targets, she runs teams, she keeps to budget, she also raises the children, orders the shopping, makes sure the washing is done on time. Superwoman does everything and never says no to anyone. Superwoman is also the cause of our exhaustion, fatigue, and burnout. Because Superwoman runs firstly on testosterone, which as women, of course, we have a lot less. Then she runs on adrenaline, which is where the adrenal fatigue element comes in. And finally, she runs on cortisol, which is the stress hormone. So the longer we are Superwoman, the iller we are becoming. This is why I teach people about learning to be selfish. As women, we don't like to say no. We like to feel that we're there for everybody and that we look after everybody. We like to think that we prioritize ourselves last, and we prioritize our family, our friends, our loved ones, and even our work colleagues, our clients, our team above ourselves. I was recently speaking to a lawyer about her priorities list and where she was on her priorities list. And she said she didn't think she was on her list at all. And in fact, she was trying to work out which order her clients came on her priorities list. So I want you to try an exercise that I call the hats exercise. Are you all things to all people? How many different hats do you wear? What might be holding you back from living the life that you want or pursuing your dreams? So when you're thinking about this exercise, think about all the different roles that you play in life. For example, are you a wife, a mother, a daughter, a team leader, a friend? Think of all the different hats that you wear. Write them down in a list. And then think, is this taking up all your time so that you have no time for yourself and no time to live your life the way that you want to? The reason I ask people to do this exercise as well is to understand that we have a certain well of energy inside us. And if we use that whole well of energy looking after others, then we have nothing left for ourselves. And when that well is used up and someone comes to us who really needs our help, we have nothing left to give them. And if we continue to try and give from this empty place, then we will burn out and we will become ill. And then we are no use to anyone. So I teach people, learn to be selfish. Learn to be selfish so that you can be full inside and you can be there for others when they need you without being depleted and without making yourself ill. You may have heard the analogy of the oxygen mask on the aeroplane. You'll have heard many times, put on your own mask before helping others. I remember a trainee of mine many years ago, she'd just been on holiday with her first baby and said, I don't understand why they tell me to put on my own oxygen mask first. Of course, I would make sure my baby was okay first. And I said to her, but if in doing that, you pass out before you're able to help your baby and put your own mask on, then there will be nobody there for your baby. Everyone else will be busy trying to look after the people they're sat next to or to look after themselves. You need to put your own mask on first so that you can be there to look after your baby. And that analogy goes through life. We have to put on our own oxygen mask first if we really want to be there for those that we love. And so I say, be selfish. Put on your own oxygen mask. Fill up your own well of energy first. Having hopes and dreams. Why should you have hopes and dreams? And what if you don't have any yet? And what is your personal version of success? The thing I love about hopes and dreams is that they can seem impossible or unlikely, but that doesn't mean you shouldn't have them. And it doesn't matter about the how. When you hold a vision or a dream, then that's where you want to get to. That's what you're working so hard for. And when you hold that vision or that dream in front of you, then you will automatically start choosing the path that leads you towards that dream or that vision. When decisions come up to be made, you will subconsciously make the decisions that take you closer to that vision or to that dream. So, how do you create your vision or your dream if you don't have one? Just spend some time on your own, if you can, in a place that you love, maybe sitting outside by the water. It may be a room that you love in your house. It may be in the spa. It may be on the golf course. Wherever you love to spend time, take a little 10, 15, maybe 20 minutes to sit quietly and think about how you would like your life to be a year from now. Choose a day around a year into the future and go through that day from the minute you wake up in the morning to what you're doing throughout the morning, what you're doing in the afternoon, and again in the evening. And then in the evening, reflecting back on that day. What were you doing? Who were you with? And importantly, how did you feel? This exercise is very powerful in helping you to identify how you would like your life to be. Your values. What are your core values? Make a list of the things that you believe are most important to you in relation to the way you live your life. Values may be things like love, friendship, wealth, freedom, health, education, connection, spirituality. What things are most important to you in relation to the way you live your life? Make a list of the top 5 things that are important to you. And then think about what's the order of importance for these in your life? Which are showing up most evidently in your life at the moment? For example, if your top value is wealth, what are you doing to grow your wealth at the moment? Are you doing anything? If your top value is health, what are you doing for your health right now? Are you doing anything? This is a wonderful exercise for you to get clear on what is important to you, but then to ask the question whether your life is reflecting that this is important to you. And if it's not, what do you need to do to change it? Have a look at what you're spending the most time, money, and energy on right now. Is it one of your values? Or is it something else that's for somebody else and not for you? If we don't live our life in a way that reflects our true core values, if we're spending our time, money, and energy on other things that are not our values, what happens? We become unhappy, maybe depressed, we become ill. So instead, think about what your core values are, and where they are not reflected in your life at the moment, think about what you could change. Asking for what you want. It's time to look at changing our language. It's time to put out into the universe that we want positivity in our life rather than negativity. Think about the negative language that you use on a day-to-day basis. Do you often say that you're busy, you're stressed, life's crazy, or manic? When you're putting out there that this is how you feel, this is what is coming back to you in your experience. It's being reflected back to you in your experience. So busy and stressed creates more busy and stressed. If instead you'd like to be calm and enjoying life, then start to change your language. There is an element of fake it until you make it here. Because when you start using the language, you won't immediately feel like that. But the more you use the language, the more your feelings will start to change. And this works not only for you personally, but it works for those that you come into contact with. The more you use the positive language, the more you will impact those around you in a positive way. Can you make yourself happy? The How of Happiness by Sonia Lyubomirsky says that you can make yourself happy. You need two things for happiness: positive feelings and a sense that life is good. Sonia discovered that 50% of our happiness comes from our genetic makeup. It's what she calls a set point that we are born with and we cannot change. This is our baseline level of happiness. 10% of our happiness, only 10%, comes from our circumstances. This is whether we are rich or poor, healthy or unhealthy, married or divorced, won the lottery or not. Only 10% of our happiness is affected. And yet we spend our lives trying to affect these circumstances to be happier. 40% of our happiness comes from everyday activities. So I teach people about how to maximize the 40%. How can you maximize this happiness? It comes from intentional daily activity, and it's within your ability to control. You have the opportunity to increase your happiness levels by what you do in your life and by how you think. What can you do to optimize this 40%? These are simple daily habits, which if you adopt, you will see a difference within 6 weeks. Before you adopt any of the habits that I teach, you need to fully grasp the concept of selfishness. What do you do now to take care of yourself? Do you spend time on your own, doing something that you enjoy? Or do you feel that you work so hard during the week that any time you're not at work, you must be spending with your family? If you're not prioritizing yourself, your health, your happiness, then you won't adopt any of the habits that I'm about to teach you. You need to start prioritizing yourself. You need to start being selfish. Self-care isn't just taking yourself to the spa for a few hours, although that's great. Self-care is putting yourself first, more often than not, in every decision you make. But learning to be selfish is difficult. I'd go so far as to say it took me more than a year to accept the concept of self-care because it felt selfish. In the end, as I started to suffer from panic attacks and could feel that I was spiraling into a state of depression, I knew that I needed to change things, if not for me, then for my children, because they deserved a better, happier mum. So although being selfish and putting myself first came very hard to me, I knew that I had no choice. And when I started out, I didn't do it for me. I did it for them. I encourage you to do the same. So what are the simple daily practices that I teach my clients that bring about huge changes for them in their lives? These practices take between 15 minutes and 20 minutes a day. You'd see a noticeable difference within days, and the results in 4 to 6 weeks will amaze you. The average number of days to create a new habit is 21. I encourage people to use their vision or their dream and keep focused on that to keep themselves going. So what is your vision or your dream? What do you want your life to look like in 1, 3, or 5 years' time? Habit number 1, morning pages. Morning pages is a specific way of journaling. Journaling can be used for many different purposes, but this particular method of journaling is so helpful for clearing your mind, prioritizing your day. It's from a book called The Artist's Way by Julia Cameron. Why should you do it? It focuses you on what needs to be dealt with rather than just what you think needs to be done that day. It helps you to make decisions more easily, be calmer, and feel that life is just a little easier. It's a brilliant business planning tool. Make it part of your working day. So what do? You take 3 pages of A4 each morning and just write. You don't think about it, spell check it, grammar check it, sense check it. Whatever's going on in your head goes straight down onto the pages. Then you throw it away. You don't keep your pages, and you certainly don't read them for at least 8 weeks. This will help you to clarify your thoughts, know yourself better, reduce stress, and solve problems more effectively. The second habit, gratitude. Of all the habits I teach, this is probably the most simple, but yet super powerful. Be thankful for 3 things each day. And at the end of the day, you could write these down in a little notebook, speak them out loud, or just think them to yourself. Share them with your partner or with your children. Why practice gratitude? It lowers the blood pressure, improves the immune system, it reduces stress levels, and it has a documented positive effect on people suffering from heart disease. Those who were asked to keep a gratitude diary were shown to be less likely to develop full-blown heart failure. The third habit is meditation. Meditation calms a busy mind. It improves your ability to concentrate and be organized. It prevents negative thinking and prevents that preoccupation with what might go wrong, usually at 2 a.m. in the morning. It helps deal with irritability and intolerance, insomnia and night waking. It gives your mind a rest. You become clearer and decision-making is easier. Meditation has a physical effect on your brain. It decreases the fear and anxiety center in the brain and increases the learning, memory, and stress control function. It reverses the damage caused by the stress hormone, cortisol. Rounding up. Do you feel you have the support in place to make the changes you need to make? Write your goals down. You are 42% more likely to achieve them. Find someone to stay accountable to, and you are 85% more likely to achieve your goals. Remember what your vision or your dream is for the next 1, 2, 5 years. What do you want to change? What do you want to change right now, today, in the next week? And what maybe needs a little bit more planning, a little bit more forethought that you could change in the next 3 months? Remember that if you've been doing something for 3 months or more, it's the new normal. Do you have the support you need to make these changes?
Hello, and now it's back to the non-2018 version of me. So if you would like any more support in relation to any of the things that we've talked about, then do head over to my website, authenticallyspeaking.co.uk, where you will find lots and lots of free guides, blog posts, podcast episodes, and all sorts of things that build on the sorts of topics that we've been talking about today. If you're not already on my mailing list, then on there I will keep you up to date with any online and in-person trainings that are coming up this year. And also there is the Facebook group, Legally Speaking, for members of the legal profession, which you're very welcome to come and join. And most weeks I share some mini training, thought for the week, and I'm there always for you to ask your questions and get in touch through there as well. So take care, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye bye.